Donkey Kong Bananza was released in 2025 as a launch exclusive for the Nintendo Switch 2 system. It received critical and commercial acclaim. You may believe this to be just another great Nintendo platformer, but at its core lies extreme political topics and themes. In fact, the entire game Donkey Kong Bananza is an obvious metaphor for the problem we all know and love today, nuclear war. But before we break down Bananza's story, why don't we look at where Donkey Kong's political themes originate? Ever since the end of World War II, mankind has been terrified of the A-bomb. After the power the bomb showed at Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, which Nintendo even shows themselves in-game, the Cold War would soon begin. The Cold War, which would last until the late 80s, most likely influenced Shigeru Miyamoto to create Donkey Kong in 1981 as a defender of peace and an anti-war symbol. He would go on to create King K. Rool, DK's arch-nemesis, in 1994. 1994 minus 1981, the year Donkey Kong was created, is 13. The same number when rearranged gives you 31, as in plutonium-231, a nuclide similar to plutonium-241, an essential part of nuclear weapons development. So you see, Shigeru Miyamoto clearly was trying to illustrate his very strong beliefs about the nuclear war, likely created in his experiences growing up in post-war and post-Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. If you doubt my evidence for his obvious political leanings, look at this example of Nintendo and possibly gaming's most iconic character, Mario. His first game being in 1985, and Super Mario Bros. Carries no political messaging, as you may know, but this was a deliberate move by Miyamoto as an attempt to skirt criticism. For his last game, Donkey Kong DK was the villain. The hero, later known as Jumpman, who would be changed to Mario, was tasked with dodging barrels in order to rescue Pauline, his girlfriend, who would serve as a metaphor for peace and diplomacy. Remember this point about Pauline, as it will come into play later. Anyway, DK would be the villain, aka nuclear war, while Mario, or Jumpman as he was known then, the hero, dodging barrels and saving the day, would be Italian and a metaphor. Italians, known for their connections to the United States middle class, are known for immigrating to the US during the 20s and contributing to much industrial development and economic growth in America. Miyamoto intended to show through Mario that the hard-working, average, blue-collar, middle-class member was the key to rising over nuclear bombs and the threat they pose. Facing backlash from the USSR and the US, Miyamoto caved to political pressure and made Super Mario Bros. An inoffensive game about Mario and his brother having fun. As you can see, politics, Nintendo, Miyamoto, and Donkey Kong have always been tied together, but Miyamoto was only a creative consultant on Donkey Kong Bananza, so how much political commentary would be in this new entry, especially after his storied criticism and the tense political climate we live in? Well, surprisingly quite a lot, full of anti-war, anti-nuke, anti-racism, and maybe even some Marxist theory. Let's dive into Donkey Kong Bananza's story. Donkey Kong Bananza begins with DK going about his average day at Ingot Isle. Suddenly, the isle is pushed underground by a strange device held by a very strange-looking man. The villain for most of the game, Void Kong, the president of Void Co., a company who has been chasing profits at any cost. DK eventually wakes up and meets an odd rock named Odd Rock. DK shows reluctance to help this purple slab, but eventually comes around. This initial reluctance shows the beginning of DK's character arc. Early on, DK is reckless and bloodthirsty. His massive appetite for bananas and destruction symbolizes his need for violence and conflict in his life, for it is all he has ever known. The violence and conflict he symbolizes also takes the place of human nature and its tendency for violence and war. There are many political moments in this game, and I will point out as many as I can, but I encourage you to comment any you see. Back to the plot, however. After DK and the Rock defeat a Void Coral machine mining resources from Ingot Isle, they find a massive hole in Ingot Isle, leading further down to the Earth's many layers. With DK wanting to eat bananas and continue his mindless rage, and the Rock wanting answers about their form, they head off down to the many layers awaiting them. But these layers aren't empty. They each carry their own social and political commentary as well. Before continuing the story, I wish to explain to you some of the societies and cultures of different races and ethnicities in the layers of Donkey Kong Bananza's world. Let's start with the racial majority of DK's world, The Fractones. The tones are regenerating blue crystal-shaped rocks who speak in different musical notes and tones, hence their name. Unsurprisingly, they love music, frequently sharing parties with the eels. As the racial majority, the tones are ever present throughout the game, being able to find almost anywhere. The tones are mercantilists, having a culture driven by the export business, not import. There are many tones trying to sell you things throughout the game. The tones could be an allegory for the USA, often talked about for its giant economy but criticized for its military practices and social prejudices. The tones conduct awful military practices including hazing, indiscriminate defense drones, and even take the shape of other races as appropriation. They even at one point appeared to dance in KKK-inspired getup. Yikes. The Lagoon Lair is indigenous to monkeys and is structurally very open concept. Youth are very prevalent in the Lagoon Lair, possibly due to a diaspora or unmentioned war. Their culture is very environmentalist and radical left. The youth may have revolted against the old to establish a socialist society, combined with mass industrialization. They allow free destruction of old political monuments, which leads me to believe that this is a new post-revolutionary regime in the game's lore. Their culture honors the ethnic group of Kongs much more than the normal monkey. They have open access to explosives and rare earths, a privilege certainly given to DK because of his Kong status. The Canyon Lair, clearly inspired by the canyons of the southern US, is very dangerous, with columns of toxic smoke, twisting rails, and high platforms. The only thing scarier than the architecture is the monsters. Beasts roam the day and night, causing many to become reclusive. The ones who don't shut themselves in to avoid the monsters do so to avoid the toxic air. The residents in question are tones. These tones impersonate giraffes in a sick display. I have inferred that a previous devastating war occurred here as well, and the canyons and anti-giraffe sentiment formed because of it. There is even a sword painting found in the Canyon Lair, a racist tone who won't let DK use a cart, and a structure called the Neck-Reek Smokestack, an obvious mockery of giraffes' long necks. The war in question, however, was between the tones and giraffes, with the tones obviously winning. The resulting society of work culture, widespread fracking, and naming things after giraffe stereotypes seems to be the result of a fierce campaign of possible genocide. This tense post-war society conflicts Pauline, as she is worried about picking a side of the conflict and current Canyon society. In the Freezer Lair, we meet the most openly discriminatory and nationalist race, the zebras. They overwhelmingly love themselves and their culture, even claiming to earn nirvana through eating ice cream, their main export. This, however, is a tactic to inspire work, similar to Arbeit macht frei, or work will set you free, a sign used by the Nazis in World War II in concentration camps to encourage work. The camp members, along with the working zebras, were being lied to, as work would only result in either more work or death. The zebras build paths only open to them and use them in front of those who can't to gloat about their special abilities. The zebras are also extremely condescending, believing that Pauline and DK are stupid and inferior, needing constant direction on what to do and where to go in the Freezer Lair. Other than the tones, the zebras are possibly the most discriminatory and hostile race in the game. In the Radiance Lair, snakes rule the land. They are very blunt and come across as very mean and cruel to foreigners. Snakes talk with their S's extended, showing their perceived dominance and superior smarts as a species. They are the 1% of the layers, the wealthiest by far. Opulent glass structures delicately crafted to show off riches litter the environment. The snakes even allow DK to break some as if to say, we can always get more later. The absurdity doesn't end there, however, as in the final lair of Donkey Kong Bonanza is the most hostile. Tones repeatedly hate on outsiders and tell Pauline and DK to leave. Curious how the only ones allowed inside are tones. Interesting. Pursuing Void Kong, DK and the Aardrock continue further down the layers, landing in the Lagoon Lair. The residents need DK's help to clean the blockages in their sewer pipe system, and he is surprisingly happy to help. This is the first time we see DK moving towards a more peaceful and kind mentality. Even though Pauline is still a rock, it seems her innocence is affecting DK already. After clearing the water blockage, DK and Pauline meet the Lair's elder. Most layers have an elder, a massive member of the Lair's society that has almost dictator-like powers, a unilateral leader capable of anything, similar to real-world leaders of history and even today. The Elder tasks DK with retrieving an ancient record with mysterious Bananza powers. Bringing it to the Elder begins the first Bananza, or a song Pauline sings that can turn DK into many different animals, each with their own unique power. After drumming up a beat, the Aardrock breaks and is revealed to carry Pauline, a 13-year-old girl with mysterious abilities. After she experiences stage fright, Pauline sings the Elder Kong's Bananza, leading to a large party where all the residents of the lair are invited. This is where Pauline's character arc begins, her stage fright being a metaphor for her reluctance to open her mind to the political horrors the world truly carries. The Bananzas are a metaphor for Pauline's ability to lead and carry a political movement, her fear stopping her from truly speaking out against nuclear war, all manner of bigotry, and class discrimination. With DK and Pauline now aligned with their purposes, finding the truth at the surface and pursuing violence in Bonanzas, the pair set off down below. Donkey Kong Bonanza continues this trend of finding a new lair, finding an ancient record, and learning a new Bonanza. DK and Pauline both grow a bond through this, but even Pauline carries subconscious biases in her own mind as well. She comments frequently on monkey stereotypes, not knowing the hurt she is causing DK. DK, however, is patient and as a sign of growth allows Pauline to discover for herself the powers that words can have. I believe also that DK senses Pauline's capabilities of leadership, and he is helping her because he is discovering the senselessness of violence, the true innocent joy bananas can bring, and the potential of avoiding nuclear destruction. But as DK and Pauline inch ever closer to the planet core, the nuclear threat begins to rise. After clobbering countless creatures and fending off fearsome foes, DK and Pauline face off against Grumpy and Poppyconk several times, eventually landing them both in the dirt. Just as all seems well, however, Pauline is snatched from DK's warm embrace and taken by a mysterious eel. DK is captured by hostile toads and put into a prison before easily escaping. DK also spots Poppyconk, a former adversary, imprisoned. Poppy agrees to help Donkey Kong find Pauline if she is let out, and DK agrees. Poppy also tells of a giant power to control the minds of men that was used on the big eel who captured Pauline. Voidco has been investing in nefarious technology throughout the game, but this is their true grand plan. However, DK outsmarts the mind control device by bringing back the eel's favorite music, causing him to remember his true self and be free of mental hijacking. DK demands that Pauline be released from the eel's stomach, but he is unable due to sickness. The fact that this eel loves music, is in the groove layer, is the life of the party, feels sickly sometimes, and is very outgoing, I believe that this could be possible commentary on cocaine abuse. Nevertheless, DK is left with no choice and jumps down the eel's stomach to find Pauline, but changed back into a rock form. DK drums a beat and frees her. This is the moment DK and Pauline truly are bonded together. After much danger, it is only now as they go after Void Kong that they realize the support they show for each other matters greatly. They find a way out of the eel and journey through more layers, this time finding Void Kong at the Banandium root. Banandium is a rare earth mined by the residents of the entire DK universe to generate power for a myriad of uses. The Banandium root, what Void Kong and Void Co have been chasing throughout the game, is a source of Banandium. Voidco seeks to monopolize this energy source and wants to use Pauline's magical singing voice to break the root and grab all it contains. DK and Pauline easily defeat Void Kong, and all seems well until DK is frozen in the purple rock that Pauline often finds herself in. With no other option, Pauline uses her magical singing to free DK, but unfortunately this opens the Banandium root as well. Void Kong jumps to grab the contents only for the true villain of Donkey Kong Bonanza to appear, DK's arch-nemesis and iconic bad guy, King K. Rool. King K. Rool wishes to find the true Banandium root because it can grant any wish. DK and Pauline set off to stop him and his Kremlin crew, a paramilitary group, from obtaining their wish, as the king wishes to rule the world and for all bananas to rot. Again displaying their talent for slaughter, DK defeats King Rool easily. Pauline wishes for bananas and to go back to her home on the surface, and the game ends. Or so we thought. A morphed credits and title screen appear, revealing the game to not be over, as King K. Rool is still alive on a jetpack. He follows DK and Pauline to the surface, and it is revealed that New Donk City, Pauline's home and giant metropolis, has been taken by the Kremlin crew, and K. Rool has transformed it into a city of rot. He transforms into K. Rool, King of Rot, and the final fight ensues. DK wins, the rot disappears, and Pauline sets off on her own to become a singer. What political commentary is evident in the climax of this game, you ask? Well, obviously, quite a lot. Banandium, the powerful rare mineral, is a symbol for uranium. Rot takes the place of enriched uranium, which is required for nuclear weapons. K. Rool is a metaphor for the people who build and amass nuclear weapons, a nuclear warmonger. Pauline's magical singing is really her ability to lead a campaign against nuclear bombs and war, and her setting off on her own, but promising to keep the beat, is her way of saying, I will speak out on political and social issues, DK, but I will never forget the priority of stopping nuclear weapons. Her arc is completed, and so is DK's after he learns that violence may be necessary in stopping evil, but only must be used as a last resort. Nintendo not showing K. Rool's corpse shows that nuclear war may not be going on now, but only through our effort to stop it. In conclusion, Donkey Kong Bonanza is a wonderful game with an incredibly deep and political story. I cannot wait to see where Nintendo goes with this series, as I believe drone warfare, AI, authoritarianism, and many other problems still plague the modern world, and I believe Nintendo can do great with those themes with Pauline and DK reuniting.